really? What is FOMO really, right? And if you don't know what FOMO stands for, fear of missing out. And I experience it. I bet you experience it at some point. And I just wanted to dive into it a little bit more and give you kind of 3 steps to overcome it, for that matter. I think it's one of those big things that derail us from our goals and our desires and our momentum, because it actually takes us out of the game a little bit. It looks like a good idea, right? Fear of missing out. We feel a little FOMO. We jump in. We're like, we say yes to that idea or invitation or opportunity because we don't want to be left behind. And yet, was it really aligned with where we want to go? That becomes the question. And I notice for myself, there are times when I say yes to things thinking it's like, wow, everybody else is jumping in. Everybody else is doing this. Everybody else is doing that marketing strategy, or that's that, going to that direction, or buying into this opportunity, or saying yes to this, and I don't want to be left behind. And so what I believe FOMO really is, and you hear me talk a lot about this if you watch my videos, is ego trick. It's an ego trick, and it falls into 2 of them, actually. And one is fear. Go figure. It's fear of missing out, right? It's a fear. And if you're making choices from fear, you're making choices from ego, and you're making choices from that separation of your true self, of your true knowing of what's right for you. And I believe we all have a guiding system, and when we ignore it, and especially when we let FOMO, something like FOMO, take us out of the game, then it really does derail us. I think it detours us from where we're trying to go, ultimately. And I just did this recently with, I won't give too much detail, but bottom line is I had a friend that was really excited for me to be a part of something that she was joining and being a part of, and I was resistant, and I was like, I don't know why yet. I wasn't completely clear on why I was resisting, or what the hesitation was, but it was there for me. Even though you can't explain it, if you pay attention to what's true for you, you'll have your answer. And so I ended up saying yes, and I remember the FOMO kicking in. I'm like, well, maybe she's right. Maybe it'll be something long term that'll really pay off. And I just found myself, after I made the decision, and of course I said yes, and then I started to recognize I felt heavy, and I didn't feel 100%, on board, with it. And so it was just kind of out of alignment. And so just yesterday I cleared it up, and I felt like I owed her a clean communication that said, look, this is just not something that's right for me right now. And I, apologize for, choosing out of FOMO, basically. I didn't say those words, but that's kind of why this conversation's here today, is I recognize that it was partly FOMO that was there and present for me. And so the 3 things that I believe you can, that you have to do in order to kind of peel back the layers and understand what's going on before you make that impulsive decision is, number 1, you got to catch it. Right? I'm going to give you 3 C's today. So number 1, you got to catch it, which means you got to acknowledge it. You got to see it for what it is. You got to notice, am I in fear of missing out? And and part of where, like I said, it's part of 2 ego tricks, right? I have 14 ego tricks that I talk about. And 2 of them, one being fear, and the second one is comparison. And that means you're measuring, or you're comparing yourself to where someone else is, or their excitement versus, well, maybe I should be excited. So there's that comparison going on, and then it catches you, and it kind of takes you out of the game again. So catching it, right? Catch it is number 1. Acknowledge it, see it for what it is. Notice the FOMO. Notice the comparison. Notice I feel like I'm going to miss something if I don't join in with everyone else, or I feel like I'm going to be left behind, or, is this really a good idea? So start to question, is this really right for me, or am I just in the egoic behavior? And so that's number 1, is catch it. Number 2 is cure it. So once you catch it and once you acknowledge it and recognize it, see it for what it is, then you want to cure it. And in order to cure it, you got to detach from the attachment that's underneath. And so I talk a lot about my detachment method, which I'll give you some access to that actually in the post comments. If you take the quiz and find out what your archetype is, then you'll get access to all 14 ego tricks and the detachment method. So you can cure this FOMO by understanding what the attachment is. So what is the fear? What's the worst that could happen if you don't join in because you're making this impulsive decision or trying to do something because you see everyone else doing it, but you're not really tapping into your true answer and your true direction. And we are all on our own paths, on our own journey. And whether we're business owners or we're in, our careers or, whether we're moms or whatever, right? We are all taking our own journey and our experience, and we have our own guiding system if we are willing to listen to it. What happens is we have habitually been living with the egoic self, right? That egoic self that's always it's kind of high alert, always wanting to protect us, always wanting to drive the ship, and we give it too much power. And so the idea is to cure it by detaching from your attachments so that you can then, number 3, choose it freely. If you have an opportunity in front of you like I did, and there's no resistance and there's no attachment and there's no FOMO and there's no comparison going on, then you can look at it and step back from it and observe it and witness it from a place of freedom. And if you have no attachments to it, right? If you have nothing going on, no story, no belief system that's in the way. And a lot of this stuff is unconscious. That's why I'm kind of giving you an insight to how this looks and how it plays out. And then the opportunity is to catch it, cure it, and choose differently, right? Choose it differently. And so once you have all that cleared out, then you can choose, is this opportunity really right for me? Or am I just feeling like I should do it, which is actually another ego trick, because my friends asking me to do so, or my business coach is telling me to do so. It's like, I think the best mentors is certainly, I'm a mentor for people as well. I invite you to take things on. I invite you to try things out, and you get to choose. Right? You get to choose. And I think those are the best opportunities, because I want you to start to listen to your truth and what's right for you. Because I am not here, and it's impossible for me to know exactly what that is. And I certainly give strategy from my experience and from my the years and numbers of people I've worked with. And yet you still have to feel right about it. But if you're not able to clear out the egoic behavior and get it and quiet it down and get back to your higher self, then it's hard to make those decisions, right? It's really hard to make those decisions. And of course, that's what the mentorship is really helpful for, because it helps you see what you need to see about you, about your patterns, about your behavior, so that then you can get to that choice and be able to choose either direction. A lot of times when we're in ego, we don't feel like we have a choice. We feel trapped in our decisions, and that's really not true if we really step back and look at it. So I hope this was helpful. If you are here live, hello. I see Kat, welcome. Thanks for being here live. And if you are on the replay, hit #replay. And I would love to know, have you experienced FOMO? and give me a little thumbs up on that if you know what I'm talking about. And let me know how the catch it, cure it, choose it process helps you step back just even for 5 minutes before you make that impulsive decision based on FOMO, and get out of the fear, get out of the comparison enough to have some perspective. It's all about perspective at that point. And sometimes, the more we choose into FOMO, or we choose it out of an egoic behavior, it derails us and detours us and takes us so much longer. I call it hijacking your momentum. And if it's, if you are clear on your vision and you know what you want, and most likely if you're here, you're like me, you're a high achiever, you've got dreams and goals and vision, and you know what you want to do. And yet when we get in our own way, which what I consider the ego is getting in my way, then I have to take that ownership back and start to do things a little differently, start to break my own patterns, start to look at my perspectives differently, and then I can move forward. And so for me, yesterday, I got clear on this was out of alignment. This decision I made was out of alignment. It wasn't a big deal, but it was just like, this is not clean, right? It's not a clean decision. And so now I get to just forgive. I communicated and I forgive myself for making that choice and recognizing it. It's a great lesson. It was a great reminder and validation that my ego is still with me. It's still there to protect me. And yet the faster I respond, the faster I clean it up, the faster I allow my higher self to be to really drive the ship, then the faster I get to where I want to go. So would love to hear your thoughts and how FOMO derails you on occasion, if you're willing to share. And in the meantime, take the quiz if you haven't already. And if you have, what's your archetype? Mine is the realist. And so here's the quiz again, bravemasters.com/quiz. It's just a great intro to, this conversation that I have. And it's a great place to start to help break the patterns and create clarity. And so it's a free quiz, free access. It also on the back end has, like a 10-minute training video about the archetype and about ego tricks. And like I said, you can download the detachment method and all 14 ego tricks because we use them all at some point, and find out a little bit more information and join me in some of my other communities online. So can't wait to see you on the other side of that quiz. Come back and let us know what archetype you are. It's always an interesting, awareness. And the fact is, we're all in it together. We all have an ego. We all use patterns and behaviors to cope and manage stress and manage, anxiety and that's just the way it is. So, however, there is an opportunity to outsmart your ego and live more in alignment with your higher self. And then that's when you have the speed of receive. You increase the speed of receive of the things that you desire. All right. Until next time, let's go get our brave on. I'll see you soon.